is the type of stuff that we're giving in service to people. And so it's the idea of being in integrity with what it is that you're teaching or offering to the world, also having those same principles be in alignment within your inner circle or within the people, your own business and your own business partners. And I feel like we're in an experiment in that sense. I would call it, like, I mean, for lack of a better word, enlightened collaboration, enlightened business. It's being able to exchange gifts, exchange and transact business through intention in a way that is formed, but from a broader perspective, to account for the speed of change and to account for, the stuff that's outside of our awareness. I think our systems of co-creating, collaborating are having us to expand our consciousness to even be able to operate on these types of levels that typically would bring a person to their edge of trust or put them in the unknown a little bit. So then, like, okay, no, that's not business-like. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. You'll get taken advantage of. All that type of thinking, I feel like that's blowing apart, and it's being replaced by stuff that's looking more like this. Like, let's get it as refined and as clear as we can, but still have the energy of spirit and humility and flow within this structure. I feel like that's the experiment that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. And it is, at this stage, it is going to require some trust. The trust can't exclusively be built on the form like it was in the past.
What's funny is, like, we live in a world of monetary, like, exchange,
right.
Paper money, and even we could take this principle to where I see it eventually going is beyond currency. It's just exchange of value.
Yeah.
And I think if we even take it to that platform, because I think that's more of a pure platform, if you will, that there
that's where it's evolving to.
There it's almost common sense.
Right.
I think it even becomes more common sense there because money can be tricky because I don't think there's a balance with it in this world.
No,
sure not. It's like we live in a bubble in America. In civilized countries, we live in a bubble, and that dysfunction, we see the effects of it in the more poor countries. That's the displacement of the imbalance.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just really felt that as you were speaking, that it'll eventually come to that. Because I think that's why we have a hard time so much with money and accepting money, mm-hmm. because we don't really know what it equates to.
Right.
Because it gets us more things, but the things are hollow. It's the value. It's really the value.
Yeah. That to me, the new economy is going to be based upon value, and in order to tap into value, you cannot determine value exclusively by some, projection or definition of value, which is, or some scientific universal method that applies to everything in terms of determining value. I don't think you can even flow an economy based upon value if you determine some unified system, a cookie cutter system,
yep.
to define it. I don't think that's even possible.
Yep.
So just to recap our little interaction here, because we said we want to document this. We're talking about you and the sort of growth within your own company, and it's like you've gone there, and the unfoldment in time is that you're bringing all these dimensions of value, production being the first obvious one, and then maybe behind production there's leadership. You're bringing all this value and it's funneling just into production, and then all of a sudden you extract that value, part of its leadership. Now it's formless. Now you bring leadership into form by creating a conversation, going, hey, I could do a leadership such and such, and you put it in a form. You connect the value in their reality, and they say, yes, let's do that. So now you're getting more energies flowing, and they're actually flowing back direct reflection to you of appreciation for your leadership now and your production.
And also,
then you keep...
Yeah, and also for more of my full expression.
Right.
I'm stepping up into more of my full expression. Yeah, and it's leading to greater results.
It's leading to greater results. And that's what I was saying to you before when Ralph was over here, is that, let's just say this first truth of who you were was manifesting one-dimensionally. For me, one of the things that I do in terms of the same thing you're doing with the company, in terms of bringing more potential out, is by observing with you this other layer of potential that's formless and actually bringing into form. And the process by which you do that is the internal receiving, valuing of it, loving of it, and then that turns into thought, communication, and actual tangible value in conversation. So by the time you go to
Yep.
do the conversation with the person, my value is or offering with that is twofold. One is the actual definition and like, this is what you're presenting to them. This is how it connects to you're building that bridge. But the other part of it is the internal bridge.
Yeah, which really helps. You're a translator in the process because as I'm going through this process, they are too.
Right.
And
Exactly.
as we become more clear about what this process is and the value that I can help facilitate with the company, because it is a facilitation.
Right.
It's just more of like an optimization of the company. Then they're seeing more of my value as I'm directly going through that process to it and understanding my value. And as the more we clarify my value, and then they see my value. And when I say my value, it's not like it's a fine line because
Fine line,
it's
for
not
sure.
my value, but it is. It's I guess if I was really to trace it back, it is the amount of focus and energy that through my life experiences, through let's just say through meditation and physical exercise and a number of things that have allowed me to focus upon something to expand it and grow it more rapidly or more effectively or both to where it equates to
Right, and
better
them,
results.
and them seeing that and appreciating it and receiving it not only brings more value to you, it brings more value to them because it in turn it's like it unlocks more of the potential and it expands the whole.
Yeah, and I think it's really like let's say for instance the industry I'm in, it's a very emerging industry, and I don't think something like this maybe could have happened with the old paradigm of like society in areas where it's collapsing. I think because it is an older model that didn't get upgraded.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting surpassed. So it's really cool because the company I work with is one of the most evolving and emerging companies. They double in size every year, which that's pretty phenomenal. I don't know much about like a lot of other companies, but that's pretty cool. They're doing something right, and it came from the story is that it came from a very inspired idea. So I think that's why they are receptive to things like this, and why even someone like me could be birthed within that company.
Yeah,
It's interesting to see how everything works together in this process. It's like even in the corporate world, they even feel like, wow, we're witnessing something. This is something greater than me. I think is what everyone's saying.
And that's what I was saying before. It's like, the whole thing of non-physical and physical, spiritual and business. I feel like everything's becoming uncompartmentalized, and you can no longer separate them. There is no separation. It's like, well, there's a place for this, and there's a place for this. On one hand, you could say that's accurate. On the other hand, I feel like we're drawing more awareness to not only the things that are most important to us in our lives, but quality of our health, our state of being, our emotional, physical, all of that is starting to infuse itself into business culture more and more and more and more. And it's so interesting, speaking of value, how you could take somebody like me, for example. I'm a great listener, right? And that has had tremendous value, just that in of itself. Or even being a professional meditator, for example. I've put time, energy, gone through the ups and downs of life, tweaked, went up and down in that area. You could say I've taken a course of mastery in that, but it's like, but we value things so much in the physical world. Let's say, oh, we're fine. If somebody goes to law school for 5 years and you pay them $300,000 a year, it's easy. Well, because they went to law school, and I'm like, but I went to school too. Or inspiration. All of a sudden, if companies start valuing the value of inspiration, they go, oh, but that's intangible. It's just inspiration. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know what that person, if they dedicate their life to inspiration and they go through hell and back and do all this stuff so that they're just an inspiring person and it brings that energy to your company, to say that, oh, well, that's just inspiration. This person can take apart this widget and put it back together. That has value. That does it because it's intangible. It's really not when you stop and look at it like that person. This person went to widget school. This person went to whatever, love school. And it all of these energies are starting to, I think, gain more of an equality in the scheme of what we say is valuable. And the most ironic thing about that is that we put more value on this than this, but yet the reason we're one of the reasons the end result of fixing widgets is not just the widget. It's creating love. It's creating value. It's creating life, quality of life experience, which is the end result of almost everything we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is fulfillment at the end of the day. It's the feeling of service. It's the feeling of contribution. It's the feeling of, so it's just funny how we value those things so much, but in the marketplace of life, we separate those things. But everything that we're doing is to get back to those things. Everything that we're doing. It's like even, solar, yes, it's about efficiency. It's about, the environment. It's about, but it's really about a higher quality of life, too. Do you know what I mean? And it's like we work, and everything that we do in our work is so we can live a nice life experience.
Yeah.
And that comes down to like things like joy, fulfillment, connection, service, contribution. And so that's why I think when you're in a business setting and somebody's bringing those energies in, that's just as valuable as somebody who's...
Well, yeah.
And that's why you see businesses over the years, they start focusing more and more and more and more and more on that as important. That evolution's been happening for years now, and the businesses that are at the cutting edge right now are the ones that are thriving the most. My friend Vishen, he interviewed Richard Branson recently, or no, he did interview Richard Branson, but he was talking about the secret to his company, Mindvalley, is that he's committed to creating the world's most awesome workplace. He's over the top with that. People love to go there, and it's not like, well, you just go here and do this job. It's like, no, he creates an environment where people can feel fully expressed and have a holistic life in their health, in their this, and he provides all of that. And it's no wonder his company's thriving. And for me, that's one of my passions, to help businesses do that and to do that within my own business. So when I bring somebody on, I'm like, I told Raul several times, I'm like, I really sincerely want you to have whatever you want. I want you working with me to be a catalyst for anything that you want to happen. And if that means if it's indirectly through me connecting with somebody or me providing it, or I'm committed to you having not only everything you want monetarily, but everything you want, period.
Yeah. And
that's the workplace of the future, and that's my passion, is creating that.
Yeah, same here. And I think that was one of the original intentions I felt with this project, was to create a better quality of life. And that's what I equated a lot of the success I had to, was my desire to have that quality of life.
Right.
That's what inspired and motivated me to produce those results and inspire and motivate others, because it wasn't just me. Yeah, I put a lot of hard work in, but you're only one person. You can't do that much. It was through that inspiration that then I began to focus outwardly that desire, and then it became more to help my other guys, and it's really good. It's been a very humbling process too. I think a part of me hasn't felt acknowledged for the things that I did create that were great, but I think that's where I'm just going through personal growth with that process to realize, to really ultimately realize my value, because I think I've been looking at everyone else going like, I'm valuable, I'm valuable, I'm valuable.
Right.
And now they're like looking back at me going, dude, you are valuable. You need to get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even the people, that are in these positions that.
And like I said before, I do think that if you're working with a company who exchanges value in terms of monetary, you know what I mean, and that's one of the ways they show appreciation and compensate their employees or workers, that's a means of exchange that's set up, then that's why I think that it's important. It's especially important that you know your value, and that not that you have to be like, yo, but that you're not shying away from it either.
Totally.
They need to be in sync with that, because there is an integrity that actually makes everything else expand when you're in the flow of that. And that's why I said it's not even so much specifically about the money, so much as it is if they are appropriating money based upon value, and you're adding that level of value, and they're throwing money this way, to this value and you're adding the same level of value over here, then it should be
Yeah.
the same here as it is here.
Yeah.
For the company to